old lubrication. Okay, fire away. Oh, you have done. Okay, call me out, folks. Welcome to Keystroke International, a destination for readers, writers, either or both. I'm Ralph Kern. I'm here with Jon Evans, and today we're going to be discussing the 20 books to 50k conferences that take place through the year. And they're currently selling the tickets for 20 Books Vegas, which is happening on a date which we will tell you about shortly.
Yeah.
So first off, Jon, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I've been working on all sorts of things over the last week because we got our book. We've got our books moved over to a new publishing account. So there's been trying to get some of those working and iron out a couple of little things with Amazon. I'm pretty sure they still haven't re-enabled the series link, but they did move across all our reviews, and that was painless. They disputed one of the paperback covers. They didn't like that. So that was a strange one. They don't like the term publisher's pack. They let it fly last time, but this time they've said no, because people might get the book and they might think that they should be getting 2 books. And I'm like, really? Not science fiction readers. Science fiction readers have to be smarter than that, otherwise they wouldn't understand science fiction. But anyway, yeah. So I've got to do something about those covers to get those editions out, which means that they'll probably just have to look completely different to the audiobook cover, which was kind of the whole point, that they should look the same. But that's annoying. And I've written a short story today, a very short story. I think I think it's probably technically flash fiction. I'm not sure. It depends where you draw the line there.
As long as it's not slash fiction.
No, it's not slash fiction. But that would be hard because it's written in the Nova Blue universe, which is the new Keystroke shared law enforcement universe that we're doing. So it's I have a character planned, which is a Tuckerization of somebody who will be quite well known to the community. But we'll have to announce that when there's actually something more than a very short story available. But that's the sort of material I'd expect us to use for things like reader magnet material. It wouldn't be worth putting up as a short story unless it was in a big bundle, I suppose. But yeah, that was fun, and it's broken the back on my writing, which I've been doing so much marketing type stuff that I haven't got to that. I've actually been getting word count now, which has been quite frustrating. So hopefully tomorrow I'll crack on and maybe double that word count, and then keep going from there. And what about you? How's your week been?
Not too bad. I've had to do a couple of shift swaps, so I've been working mostly nights, which it can be grueling, but you know, that's what I'm paid for. But managed to get quite a bit of word count down, and because I've been quite tired from the nights, what I prefer to do is read through and revise, which is quite advantageous because I've not hit a store point as such, but I've got to get my characters in my current work from A to B in an interesting way for the reader, but it's still just a link point. It's not a you know, it's not a truly critical plot point. So rather than sort of like hitting any kind of writer's block about it, and I've had that before where you've got to get them from A to B and you kind of like, how do I get them there? What I tend to do is I'll go back and I'll revise back through, and I equate that to sort of taking a run at the problem. So yeah. I'll go back, sort of make things, smooth things out a little bit, swap some of the characters around. One of our friends, Steve Boulier, he calls it eggshelling, something like that, where you kind of constantly revise back through. And it might be a new sort of concept in writing that I'll start to adopt a little bit more in my work. So rather than sitting down and going straight into new word count, I think I'll always sort of like go back maybe a chapter, even 2 chapters, revise through, and then by the time I get to where I left off, then not only will those 1 or 2 chapters be neater and cleaner, then I'll be sort of I'll be back in the characters, I'll be back in the place where I should be to write the next chapter. And maybe there's some mileage in that. That's something I'm experimenting with. So, and as for any writers out there, they'll know that we constantly sort of adjust little techniques we use, but a lot of the time it's just keep it interesting for us rather than there actually be any much difference for the end product. Yeah, I'm quite liking that because it's making for a much cleaner first draft. And I'm like, when I've done the thing where I've gone back 2 chapters, so the following day when I've gone back 2 chapters, like the second chapter I would have done the first day is the first chapter I do, and like, actually that's tied up really nicely, and then bang, I'll tidy it up again and tidy it up even more. So I'm liking that. Anyway, I waffle. And then the other thing, which is sort of interesting, sort of on the business news point of view, is I've opened up some discussion with an audiobook producer or publisher, I should say, about the series I've got coming out. So that's interesting. Not much news I can talk about on that front because we're only in the discussion phase, but with a little luck, that'll mean that things are moving forward.
Great. Is that a new series? Have you got other stuff out in audio?
Yeah. All of my stuff has come out in audio. So my first 2 books came out with a company called Tantor Publishing, really good company out of where is it? I suppose the physical location matters not really, but yeah, they were really good, and maybe a show on how these things come about would be a good idea at some point. But in short, they like my first book did okay, to be modest about it, and as it went up the rankings, I started to get offers for things like audiobook production, and that was the company that I chose, and they did really well. And then off the back of that, the fact that it did well on audiobook meant that the real big player in the industry, Audible Studios, their interest was piqued. So I was able to go to them for the second series. But anyway, as I say, that's probably more spoilers for a future show than anything else. But it might be. I think it might be worth devoting some time to then. But but until signatures go on lines, that's you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself or jinx yourself. So we'll leave it there for the time being. But yeah, should it be successful, it'd be great to revisit that.
Great. Okay. Well, I mean, so as Ralph mentioned, the topic for today, we're going to talk about author conferences, particularly for indies, and we'll be mostly talking about the 20 books conferences because those are the ones that I've been able to attend. There's a couple of others that I'd like to have attended. The Smarter Artists one, run by the self-publishing. Oh God, what were they called? I can't remember what they're called now. They by the Smarter Artist guys anyway. Johnny, Sean, and Dave. Of Sterling and Stone. Their one has finished, although I did get the impression that the company that bought their sort of writing and planning app, Story Shop, might do some kind of conference in the future. Then there's the summit that they do, that Brian Cohen does, and I've forgotten the name of that one, but that one's in Chicago, so tough one for me to attend, and there is a limit. So The main conference organizer that I've been involved with is 20 books to 50k, and those are organized by Craig Martell, and they did one in February near London in 2018, and I went to that one with my brother and co-author. My brother and co-author being the same person, for anybody who hasn't heard the show before, and followed that up by going to Las Vegas in November last year, and then I went to Bali for a very small conference, which was mostly an opportunity to visit Asia, but I learned some stuff and made good friends. And then I'm going to Edinburgh in July, and James will be come to that one as well. He came to London and Vegas last year, and he'll come to Edinburgh this year. And then I'll be going back to Vegas in November. They launched the next round of they launched the ticket sales for Las Vegas today, and it's sold out in 30 minutes. So all the places were booked, and they've already created a second tier of tickets for a little bit less money, and those people who buy those, which I think is another 150 seats, will be able to attend some of the events that aren't in the main hall, because they have last year they had the main talks going on, but then they had extra talks going on in extra rooms, like panel discussions and things that were going on at the same time, because a lot of the talks will be useful for newbies, so not everybody needs to hear them. So
okay,
yeah.
I just think probably if we may rewind a little bit, because
Sure.
Not everyone might not know what 20 books to 50k is, and you know the fantastic resources that have peer-to-peer resources that it provides. So 20 books to 50k. It's originally, I believe, set up by a chap called Michael Anderley, who he was some kind of software engineer, worked in the IT industry, and he started writing a book, and then he sold the book, and or he released the book on Amazon.com. It'd be great to get him on here. He'd probably tell his story a lot better than me, but I'll give you a short pigeon version. And so he released his book, and he released it under the concept of minimal viable product, which in short means that because he was a software engineer, he was kind of looking at the easiest way to release the book, and that was sort of like you know, no money down on covers, no money down on editing, anything like that. It was just kind of release it, stock art cover. But probably where he differed from nearly anyone else was he was a quick writer, and he managed to release books 2 and 3 a month apart or so. And through that simple concept, it rocketed. It rocketed up the charts because people were getting the next part and the next part. Then he went back and reinvested back into the books when he was sort of like, well, actually, I'm earning a little bit of money out of these. I can get them tidied up to how I would want to do it. So he's done that. But also alongside that, he did some calculations. So what his plan was to retire to a place in Mexico, I believe. Yeah. And he figured out he needed $50,000 a year to be able to live in Mexico, or in the location that he wanted, with a lifestyle that he wanted. And then as part of that, he kind of fed that back into sort of how much he was earning from his books, or how much he should earn from his books, and he realized it was sort of he would basically need to release 20 books to earn $50,000 a year. So that was his goal, except rather than reaching $50,000. I think what was it? He said he netted 7 million last year, something like that.
No, it was a couple of million, I think. But the thing is, he hit 50,000 a year, I think, on book 5. So his estimate of 20 was based on what he was selling at that point. But he rapidly exceeded that. But the point isn't. So he ended up setting up a Facebook group so that he could talk to other people, and he expected to get 3 or 4 people come over from Kboards, which is a big author forum, and he ended up with a lot more than that. People that he was trying to help them grow an author career. But the real point is, a lot of people think that there's some kind of magic formula. You must write 20 books and then you will be able to, only then will you be able to earn 50K. But it's more like produce work fairly consistently, and there are clear paths up the mountain to go from I have started to release books to I am improving what I'm doing with my editing, my marketing, my characterization, the speed of production, you know, all the various business factors that help you increase sales per book, and put out enough books that you can actually make a practical living as an author. And the 20, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the group has gone. Is far more than the 3 or 4 people he intended. It's now at 29,589 members.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There you go.
And it's a business and marketing group. It's a group. It's not a group about creative writing, about how you write. It is about how do you market your books, and what is working for people. What they want to hear from is people who can say, I have tried this and it has worked. And they like new people to read a lot of posts and read the sticky posts, so that they can learn some of the basics before they start asking questions, because nobody wants to hear the same basic question over and over and over again every single day. So they're quite strict about that. If you join the group, you know, obey the rules or they will kick you out, because with 29,000 people in a Facebook group, you have to set a standard, otherwise it's just chaos. So they started to do conferences because Craig basically said, well, should we do a conference? Would that be a good idea? And Michael said, sure, I'll turn up if you organize it. So Craig had sort of volunteered himself for that one, and he has done an absolutely fantastic job. They started with a conference in Vegas, where now almost all the authors I know now seem to live in Vegas, which, you know, apparently is great for taxes if you're in the US. But so the group and the conferences are about trying to help each other get better at marketing books. And the 20 Books conferences in particular are special because they're run on a not-for-profit basis. It's not 20 Books isn't a not-for-profit or charity or anything like that, but they don't. Their goal is not to make a profit. When we went to London, they'd overestimated how much the hotel would cost, because in the UK the hotels charge what they say they're going to charge, and in the US they will find additional charges and then ramp up your bill later. So the amount that Craig had built in as leeway for how much money they would need to run the conference was overestimated, and he sent us all a refund of the difference. So that is a perfect demonstration of the type of person that Craig is, and the ethos of 20 Books. It's not about Craig and Michael and a bunch of other people. It's not about them trying to make money off authors. I think Vegas this year was only $139 to attend the conference, and then they had deals on rooms in the hotel that they organised with the hotel. So it's not an expensive conference to attend. It's not even all that expensive. for me to fly out there from the UK and attend it. Yeah, so that's basically what the 20 Books conferences are. Now,
okay, so let's run through it then. So where would one go to apply to join or register to join the 50k or 20 Books 50k conference?
Right. So the first thing is you need to join the 20 Books group on Facebook. So if you just type in 20 Books, you'll find the 20 Books group. You fill in the questions, and then you can start to participate in the group itself. And when there are conferences coming up, Craig will advertise them in there and let people know. Basically, they are now cutting back on the conferences they're doing, just because it's a massive time investment to organise a conference, and Craig has been run ragged doing these conferences, and he and Michael actually invest quite a lot of their own money each year, and even aside from their own money, they're also taking a lot of time out of their schedules just to run the conferences. So they're currently planning to just do Las Vegas every November from now on, and as it happens, they also visit Australia around New Year because they've got family out there. So so they have a small get together out there each year. But I can't imagine anybody outside Australia is going to be, or maybe New Zealand is going to be flying in for that one. Yeah, so Bali was a one-off, and that was for people who were further along in their career and wanted a good holiday, and it was also relatively expensive. It was a great hotel and a fantastic location, but there's no expectation that there'll be another similar event. But I got a lot out of it, though I hadn't been to Asia before, so there was a whole new experience for me there, and I got the main thing that you get out of any of these conferences, which I personally think is the networking and spending time with other authors, spending time with your tribe.
Okay. All right. So if people want to join the 20 Books or go to, well, firstly, join 20 Books to 50k. If you're a writer or an indie writer, it is a resource I would suggest you probably can't ignore, whether you agree with the basic tenets of it or not. Ultimately, it's a non-judgmental forum where people can just put down what works for them or what has worked for them, and then they can and then people can choose that a la carte and see whether it is in any way applicable to their own work. So for Michael and I, it was a quick release of bang, 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 bang on a monthly basis. Other people take a different view, like a yearly release, and then market the hell out of it. So different people have different ethos and everything in between. There is, however, one basic tenet of 20 Books, which is universal across all of the authors and writers and industry insiders who go on that site, and that is an expectation that as you climb up the mountain of success, that you reach back down and offer a hand to people who may be climbing behind you. And that is something I personally massively think is just think it's such an important thing, cultivating the next generation of talent. And you know what, you might have cultivated the next J.K. Rowling just by offering a slight helping hand, whether that be offering a beta or an editorial review or a comment, or even just something relatively simple like helping with a title. And you know what, if you've helped the next J.K. Rowling and they remember that, then it feeds back to your own work, doesn't it? So yeah, it's a the offering of a helping hand. If you're a selfish individual, there is a selfish reason for doing it. If you're a selfless individual, then it's a worthy goal in itself. So where we're at in this cast is firstly, what if you're a writer? Go join it. If you're a reader and you're interested in the sausage making factory that helps produce what you have on your plate, nothing to be said that you can't go and join it as well, because as a reader, you're the most important people to us. So if you can offer an insight that helps us authors, that's also important and vital. And then the second and more applicable part of the summary to this point is that if you want to go to one of these conferences, then the conference, you have to register on that site anyway. It's all managed by that Facebook group, so you need to join to go to one of these conferences. So Jon, I must admit, I have not been to a 20 book conference, but I am I am on the site. So okay, you turn up on day one. So you rock up. What's day one? What's the first thing you see as you come in?
So the first thing is there will be a whole bunch of people who are there for a whole week. So there's a couple of reasons. One, you get to go to Vegas, so it's and the hotel that it's run in, Samstown, is off the strip, so it's a cost-effective hotel. So it's a holiday. You'll probably find that your flights are cheaper if you go Saturday to Saturday or something similar to that. So trying to go for just the midweek days of the actual conference days might not actually be all that cost effective for you. You might not save a lot of money by doing that, or you might find that the cheaper flights even out the cost of the hotel. So if you do turn up early, then make your presence known, because there will be a whole lot of other authors there. They're not that hard to spot, because in Samstown, they'll be the only ones who are sat around talking at tables and with laptops, and they don't look as depressed as the people at the slot machines, who are mostly locals of Samstown. It's not so much of a tourist casino. Many of the people who are there are locals, and that's their regular casino. They don't go to the strip casino so much. So Samstown is sort of constructed around a central atrium where the reception is, and then there's a sort of little indoor park type thing around the sort of a tiki bar, and then there's a fake waterfall and a very obnoxious and loud laser show that plays against the waterfall, which is surrounded by little animatronic animals. Okay, that happens in the evening only though, so every couple of hours in the evening it starts up this sort of 15-minute laser show, and you find it hard to talk to the people right opposite you. But day one of turning up at Samstown, just go down into the central atrium, and you're going to find a whole bunch of 20 books people there. And if you're involved in the group, you're going to start recognizing people. So just introduce yourself. If you're an introvert, if you find that difficult, speak to people before you go, particularly people in your genre, but just say that you're there, and get yourself introduced to somebody, and meet one particular person. Once you've met one other author, you've got a friend there who can introduce you to other people. And there are ways that you can cope if you are like a lot of the authors who go there are introverts, and find the whole crowd experience a little bit tiring. But you can easily make friends, because everybody there is in your tribe. And it doesn't matter too much whether or not they're in your genre. It's great fun to speak to people in your genre, but people in other genres are marketing in much the same way, and they might have different ideas about how to do things that you can learn from. But they're still constructing stories in the same way, and they're still, you know, they're still facing the same problems that you are, only in a slightly different manner. And then on the first day of the actual conference,
can we just sort of dwell on that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So you mentioned that it was that a lot of authors are introverts, and that is true. So having myself been in a number of environments, training courses, things like that, you go and you think you're the only one who's getting all worked up about going and meeting people and who might be there. So bear in mind that everyone else is feeling like that as well. You know, it takes a brave person, but go maybe go and you know, be the first person to introduce yourself. There's a bar I have been to a couple of times. I enjoyed my scuba diving. It's called the Camel Bar. It's in Egypt, Sharm el Sheikh. And they have a policy there. It's a really heartwarming policy because they know they get a lot of scuba divers who just go on holiday on their own to go scuba dive, and there's a plank on behind the bar which says house rules: if someone's on their own, invite them to your group. And it's really, so I rocked up there. I remember rocking up there first time, and I'd just been on my own, like relationship breakdown. I was like, I'm going on holiday. I'm going to go scuba diving. I'm going to go to the Sharm el Sheikh. Turned up there, and I was, you know, sat at the bar for probably less than 5 minutes, like nursing a pint. You get a tap on the shoulder, and like turn around and say, this guy is like someone from London, I think it was. He turns around and says, "Excuse me, you seem to be on your own. Would you like to come and join our group?" And you know, they brought me into the group. Everyone did a round of introductions, and we had a thoroughly enjoyable night on the Lash. So sometimes making that kind of move, it's welcoming to the other party, and it's welcoming to you. So
yeah, absolutely. And everybody at 20 Books, right? Other than a few people who are admins in the group and who are sort of fans and people who aren't writing yet, or editors and so on, you know, they're all lovely, friendly people. They're all authors. They're all, you know, they're all the sorts of people that you want to speak to. Nobody is going to be unpleasant. If they look a little bit panicked, it's probably that they're an introvert too. And we all try and make an effort to introduce ourselves to people and welcome people in. And you can usually spot the ones who are hanging around at an event and are not quite sure, am I even looking at people who are in my event? When I go, as soon as I've got my conference badge, I keep my lanyard on all the time so that people can see it and go, that person is at least definitely involved in the conference, so I can speak to them. And when we were at London Book Fair, actually, Elaine Bateman, who's somebody I know from 20 Books, she's an admin on 20 Books, and she'd got on her 20 Books t-shirts. She'd actually had some. She got Craig to send her artwork, and she had some made herself, so she could do ones that would advertise the Edinburgh show. I should say now, actually, the 20 Books Edinburgh show in July, I think there are still some tickets available for that one. So if you're UK based, or you just want to fly out to the UK from wherever else you are, then you should definitely look at that, because it's going to be a great conference. And that one actually goes for the whole week, because there's a sort of a writing retreat type section either side of the conference itself. And then I suppose this is, I think the next thing to talk about is what about the actual bits that make it a quote unquote conference, the actual talks and things.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so. Yeah. We've danced around the surrounding stuff. Yeah. Let's dive down into the meat of it. So what? Firstly, Jon, can you give us a sort of general overview of the types of the types of presentations, the types of panels that you get there. So just sort of like a top line view on them, and then we'll duck down into a few more of them.
Okay, well, one of the first things I want to say before I forget is that most of the talks from London and from Las Vegas are actually up on YouTube. They video them. They're up on YouTube. You can watch them. So even if you can't attend, you can still go back and watch the 20 books London and Vegas videos from last year, from 2017 and 2018. And this year they're going to film even more of the events. So they have two basic things. Samstown has a big live auditorium which they used last year, and it fits about 800 people, I think, something like that. So what they'll do is you'll go into the Samstown live area, and then they'll on the first day they'll hand out they'll hand out the lanyards and the badges. You sign your badge you write your name on your badge. Don't sign it, because what you want is for people to be able to read it. You write your genre or genres on the badge. That's really helpful, because then you know what people's genres are. Pro tip: if you're wearing a lanyard, right, try and make sure your name is facing out, not back towards your chest, and consider wearing it reasonably high, so that when people look at you, they're not like looking at your belly, or if you wear it on your hip, that may work for you, but nobody can read your name tag if you do that. So practical considerations can be quite helpful. Wear your branded t-shirt if you've got one, because that can be, that's advertising for you, and it can lead other people to want to talk to you. And they might want to say, hey, I like your t-shirt. Now, when you get into the conference, you would find like 3 sections of seating, all pointed at this stage. Nice big sort of projection screen, and that's where the main talks are. And they'll have talks throughout the day from the conference usually opens before 9 for introductions and signing in and stuff, and they'll have a whole range of talks from different industry people. For instance, Chris Fox and Brian Cohen last year did a talk where they went through people's books. They went through their description, their cover, and they critiqued them live on stage. These were volunteers, not people they picked on, and that was really helpful, because it gives you an idea of what sort of things should you be doing. Then you've got things like K-Lytics were there. Alex Newton from K-Lytics was there to talk about data and about genres and the reporting that they do. He's doing a bigger talk this year. And I'm trying to think of other big ones. Michael will always do a talk. James Blatch from the Self-Publishing Forum did a talk on doing live video, which was an instructional talk, and he actually linked up to Mark Dawson, who was in the UK at the time, and did a live conversation with Mark to demonstrate how easy it is. Mind you, James is an expert at video, but still it demonstrates that the technology works quite well. So have you got any questions, Ralph?
Yeah, you started to dive down into it. I think the most interesting things, I think, now really to sort of cover are what you get out of the talks and the conferences, what kind of things you do. So again, just to sort of summarize a little bit. So you've got various sort of big players, or I should say both big players and people with acknowledged
expertise
and in skills. So people like Chris Fox, and I realise we're kind of throwing out names like they might mean something to the generalist, whereas for us, he's a big name, but for many, he might not be. So Chris Fox is, he's done a lot of work on things like writing to market. So his big thing was, I suppose, as writers, we tend to be passionate about our subjects, but he was the first one who sort of articulated within the community what we all kind of knew to be the case, but he was the one who articulated it, which was actually, you guys are considering doing this as a job, so it might well be less about what you want to write and more what your readers want to read. So he kind of he really sort of hammered that home, and he called it the right to market philosophy. Mark Dawson, he's like uber successful thriller writer, and he does lots of great stuff. But again, as part of it, he's done a lot of analytics into what's made him successful. Because you've got to remember that as indie authors, the onus is on us. Publishing houses have massive analytics and data collection departments. We have us. So you kind of got to utilize the knowledge that is around you. So I didn't manage to get to Vegas, but I have watched the podcast. So like the opening statements are obviously great. They're very inspirational, and they're filled with like little tidbits of knowledge, but they're there more to frame the whole of the conference than sort of what you might be there for exactly. You get a few success stories. Again, they're always really inspirational, aren't they? So there's one chap, Nick Sansbury Smith. He seems like such a nice guy, and also you read about, or he's discussing his success in marketing. A friend of ours, Richard Fox. I question his sense of humour at times, but he's certainly a great guy who's always willing to sort of lend that hand back down the mountain to help people back up.
Yeah, he was on one of the sci-fi panels last year.
Well, he was on a panel and he did a presentation, didn't he? But his piece was really good and really pragmatic, and I think because he's an ex artillery and intel major. He's so from the intel side, I would suggest he's really good at kind of delivering concise, like bang 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 presentations. You're like, well, that lasted 30 minutes. I got more information than like 5 hours of someone else's piece. And then there's the interesting things like the sci-fi panels. Military, was it the military?
Yeah, there was a military sci-fi one.
Military sci-fi panel where you had lots of sort of big names. So like someone like Jay Allen. Jay Allen, I love his work, but generally he's not sort of like a big social media user. So for people like him, people like Jay, who's very successful. It's an opportunity to get a little bit of an insight which you might struggle to get otherwise. That's certainly not sort of anything disparaging on him. It's just how he operates. He doesn't.
Well, I mean, people like Chris Fox are out there. They're out there deliberately giving information to people. Chris Fox has a successful YouTube channel where he gives advice to authors in all sorts of forms. But not all the top authors are doing that. They're very willing to talk to you at a conference, though.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. So you may get little snippets that aren't available in any other way. And I understand that the drinking competitions are quite legendary from there. And that brings us probably to sort of like one of the summary points is that Keystroke Medium, or certainly our parents, run by Josh and Scott, Josh Hayes, Scott Moon. I don't know what you call it. probably not official. That's too strong a word to it. But they are the unofficial kind of booze master generals of.
Well, the last couple of years they've had an evening which they've invited people to, and I went to the last one because I wasn't at the first Vegas conference, and it was there were what, I don't know, 40 or so or 50 maybe sci-fi authors dropped in there, mostly sci-fi and fantasy authors. Okay, and just to point out, right, so we're on a balcony overlooking the atrium. Okay, and Josh is on a microphone that turns out to not feed to a local speaker but to the speakers for the whole atrium. So that was quite amusing. But they put on a lovely spread for us and loads of food. We had great conversation there.
And flaming sambucas,
right? Yeah. But while we were there doing this event, there was already a sci-fi dinner that Erica Forrest, she organised one in London as well. She organised a sci-fi dinner that was I think it was in TGI Fridays or something, where they had like 120 sci-fi people turn up to that one. Okay, so, and that was simultaneous with the Keystroke event. That gives you an idea of the scale. And there's lots and lots and lots of dinners. So it's important that if you're going, if you want to make the most of your time there, there's a spreadsheet run for all the side events that people are organising. There's somebody's going to try and take people axe throwing. There's people want to visit the local tourist spots. There's lots of dinners for all the different genres and get-togethers and things. So if you want to find your specific tribe, there's going to be over 1,000 people going this year. So there will definitely be a way to find your tribe, and it will be the same in Edinburgh. There's going to be about 150 of us there, something like that, maybe a bit more. We're going to be there for a week. So I'm going to try and not kill some people by taking them up Arthur's Seat, which is a large hill, well, volcanic hill in Edinburgh. It's not a mountain, so hopefully I won't actually.
It is a volcano, so.
It's a very long dead volcano. Otherwise, you wouldn't catch me in Edinburgh. But anyway, it's a nice steep hill, but it's also got an excellent view of Edinburgh, and we're going to be there in July, so hopefully we'll have really good weather. We'll be doing all sorts of events in Edinburgh and going around and taking people to see the sights and stuff, because a lot of people at London and in Edinburgh are coming all the way over from the US or from all over Europe and Asia and Australia and South Africa and so on. So you'll meet people from all over the world, and you will make friendships there that will last a lifetime, and you will be able to help other people, and you'll be able to learn a lot. When Craig asked last year, or it could have been Michael, I can't remember actually, but they asked how many people had never published a book, and I think about a third of the audience put their hands up and said they hadn't published yet. They were still working on getting their first book published. So those people had taken the time out of their lives to come and invest in their future career, and that's what this is. These are an investment, and subject to your local tax law, you probably can write off this, attending a conference like this. It's a professional business conference. It's not a holiday or a jolly. It is something that is you're investing in as part of your career. And something else I wanted to say, we're talking about 20 books because they've been the biggest conferences and the ones that I've been fortunate enough to be able to attend. But you should look out for other conferences, because there are other conferences and there are smaller events that will be happening in your local area. And as time goes on, more people will start indie conferences. I can think of several in America right now. There's the Authors on a Train thing, which I think that might happen again, or something different might happen. I think that's Jay Thorne. There's the there's the summit that Brian Cohen organises, and I really wish I could remember the name. No, oh yeah, the Sell More Book Show Summit, which is named after the podcast that he does with Jim Cockrell, and that's a reasonably small one at the moment. I don't know if it'll be larger next year, but that's one that you could look to attend. And at the moment, Mark Dawson and Self Publishing Formula, they are looking at doing a conference in London in 2020, or sorry, in the UK. But I assume it's London. And he announced on his podcast in the episode that was broadcast Friday the 29th, that they would be there's a chance that they might actually hold the conference at Amazon HQ in the UK, do the talks there. That would be kind of cool, I think. You know, if you're in the UK, it'd be well worth attending an event where you could get to meet Mark and listen to some experts talk about marketing and books, and getting to see the Amazon HQ might be a fun bonus. But it wouldn't matter to me where they were. If they held it in Cornwall, I'd still go. Okay, maybe not Cornwall, but you know. So yeah.
So
can you hear me, Ralph?
Yeah. There's lots of other
cool.
things to get to. That's all. Just wasn't over speaking you.
No. It's just there was a funny crackle in my ear, and I thought, oh no, my headphones or something have died.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's probably sort of you know, great summary place to put it. That there are 20 books is, you know, it's advocated by us as being a massively valuable resource, but don't neglect the other ones or the local ones, or even because bear in mind that conferences are merely community, like given a title, and a conference can be as simple as you get together with a few author friends who you meet through social media or whatever, and you figure some stuff out, or you work in partnership. Yep. One of the things that Keystroke Medium has long advocated is the collective mentality. We operate in a collective. We speak constantly. You know, any kind of like little advantages that one of us gains, we make sure we share with the others, and we provide those insights. Any little contacts we get, that little or big contacts, I should say, you know, we share with others. So as appropriate, you know, obviously if it's sort of like, you know, don't share my information, then we wouldn't do, but you know, everything's appropriate. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of the hour now, yes, John. Yep. So is there any final thoughts that you have on conferences, and how much is it? How much does it cost for 20 books?
So I'm pretty sure this one was $139 for the 3 days of the conference, and then you've got to think about hotels on top of that, which were $49 a night at the group booking rate. So it's not terribly expensive, but it does vary a lot depending on whether or not you've got to fly from the UK, or if you were going to Bali, that one was quite expensive, but probably not expensive for going to Bali. Not at all. And I didn't spend, you know, I paid the conference fee, which included some cash, and sort of like included like a deal with the hotel for services and drinks and stuff. And I paid very little more, you know, on top of that for going to Bali. And we got a hotel with monkeys, and you know, the Indian Ocean right outdoors, and we're having conversations at a nice restaurant on the beach.
But did you get chilled monkey brains? That's the
no, I didn't. But I'll try and sort that out.
Well, I'm sure Craig has got a suggestions comment. Okay, yeah. I think that's a great place to wrap anyway. So all right then. Okay, so just again, and I know we've done it 3 or 4 times throughout this podcast, but I think it provides a perfect capstone. 20 bucks to 50k. If you just run it on the search on Facebook, you can find the group. If you find the group, you can join the group. If you can join the group, you will see the conferences advertised in various places. I think they don't let anyone post for X amount of days. I forget how many days. For argument's sake, like a week. That's just so people can get acclimatized, because normally when people they come in and then they ask a question that's been asked a million times before, but actually what they should do is a sticky post with all the FAQs on it, the frequently asked questions, and actually read that, and probably it'll be in there, and then or anything that's a common question gets added to that anyway. So join that group if you're an author. If you're a reader, I hope this has been interesting into the sausage making factory that is writing, and support your authors, because we belong to you. We are your property, and if you've got any great suggestions for 20 books, please join it, and they will, they'll happily take on board suggestions from readers as well, because you're the most important people. All right. Okay. Well, I say the hellos. Do you want to say the goodbyes, John?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks very much for listening, folks. And if you have any comments about the show, or want any and want to ask any questions about any of the conferences or anything that we mentioned, then just ask them on YouTube, and we'll do our best to respond in a useful fashion. So
just before we go, I'm going to completely throw you under the bus right now, John. And it's only your own fault. If anyone's watching this and they perhaps need a connection or someone to say hello to, is there anyone in this podcast who's going to the next 20 books who will perhaps be happy to say hello to them?
If you're going to 20 books Edinburgh, or you're going to 20 books Vegas this year, if you need somebody that can give you an introduction to people, if you're feeling nervous and you want me to meet you somewhere in one of the hotels, and then introduce you to some people, just give me a shout. I'm more than happy to do that. And I know quite a lot of the big names, and the people that you want to meet, and you want to meet, you want to meet as many people as you realistically can. Oh, and business cards, even cheap, simple ones that people can, that are focused on not your fans, but authors being able to contact you, are a good idea. It's a really handy way to transfer the information. It may seem a bit old-fashioned, but you can get very flash ones, by the way, if you want to be able to give them to fans that will show like your book cover, and they look amazing. Look it up. You'll find some brilliant examples. But for the actual conferences, to give to other authors, it's quite handy, because you might want to do newsletter swaps with people, and things like that. But by all means, as Ralph says, just introduce yourself to me, either online or whatever. If you're adding me on Facebook, it so helps if you could leave a comment when you invite me as a friend, because sometimes I get friend requests from people and I don't know if they're fake profiles or what. So if you just tell me who you are, then I'll say, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And
that's one of the things we get a lot of, isn't it? Is without sounding big-headed, sometimes you just get fans who just want to either engage with you or just sort of see what you're up to.
And there are genuinely, as it were, fake profiles out there who try to add people, so you're never quite sure if it's.
Well, that sounds like an oxymoron, genuine fake profile.
Yeah, but there's people you just don't know yet who you absolutely would want to, and then there's totally fake people who don't exist in the first place, and they're just spammers of some kind. So do just try and send a message with the invite, but that's fine. Or talk to us on Keystroke Medium. That's cool as well, and we'll I'll do anything I can to try and help you guys out. And as I say, there are still tickets left for Edinburgh. So with all that said, I think it's good night from him, and it's good night from me. So good night, folks.